Well, we're joined now by the environmental activist Laura Young, who's been campaigning for more regulation on disposable vapes. Thanks so much for joining us, Laura. What is it that you would like to see done exactly?
Specifically to have single-use disposable vapes banned. They are such an issue, not just because of everything we've just heard with the access that young people have and the fact that they are trendy and that the health warnings are they're just not there. They are also a huge environmental hazard. I began this campaign after finding them as litter. That's finding electronic devices littered across the streets. But then that led me to understand, and many others, that these are complex devices with many different materials and include things like a lithium-ion battery, precious materials that we need to be conserving and looking after. And the fact that we are selling and disposing millions of these a week in the UK is such a waste of valuable resources that go alongside the other youth issues, which mean that we are calling for a ban on single-use disposable vapes.
And looking at the litter issue that you mentioned, how widespread is it? What do people spot when they're out collecting it?
It is so widespread. Every single day on the same walks that I do to work, I will find a handful of them. I've been out on litter picks with different groups and you find up to 100 in one go. There's also widespread across the UK people finding them. There was over 200 found in a youth skate park in Falkirk. There was nearly 500 found by an Aylesbury litter picking group in the month of February, and we've seen thousands being collected by street sweepers in different councils in different cities. So this problem is not just something that is specific to one area, it's across the UK, and you can find them in your local area, you can find handfuls of them and pockets of them. So the litter problem is huge, and this is really damaging litter for wildlife, but also it can cause popped tyres, it can cause microplastics into watercourses. There are so many different issues. And of course, the big fear is that lithium-ion batteries in any way, if they get damaged, can of course explode and cause a fire.
And I know ultimately what you would like to see is a ban, but in terms of regulation, in maybe the medium term or as an interim, what is it that you would want to see specifically regarding the regulation?
We do have waste regulation for electronic devices here in the UK, and currently the majority of the brands, the manufacturers, are failing to do this. There was some research that Material Focus did, and it found that only 16 out of 150 of the manufacturers they contacted had funding for recycling programmes that they're supposed to have. But we also know that it's not just the funding of the recycling that we need, we also need collection and take-back schemes. And big retailers of vapes are supposed to have this. And if you go into a supermarket, you will see that they currently don't have those. So we need to make sure that the WEEE regulations, that's what it's called, the waste electronic devices, those regulations are being upheld and that there are proper fines and penalties for retailers and brands not following that. Alongside, of course, much better trading standards, we need to make sure that young people are also not getting a hold of these.
And Laura, do you get a sense, just briefly, that there is support for what you're calling for out there? Is this something that you feel positive about seeing it happen soon?
Overwhelming support from individuals, charities, organisations, shops, and also I'm from Dundee, and Dundee City Council has come out in support of the ban and has added pressure for the Scottish Government as we wait for their urgent review on the environmental consequences and assessment of these. So there's cross-party support up here from Dundee City Council, and other councillors and organisations are getting involved. This is a really positive thing that we're doing, both for the environment, for public health and for young people.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us.